Ain't nothing peculiar about the way that I was raised, and my arm is on the way.
Hi everybody. Alright, I haven't done one of these in a while, so let's go. Remember Ginger Dunn that I had talked about like a couple months back, and about how her and Mica had the same attorney, and there was a lot of similarities between her case and Mica's case, and so I found something that kind of goes side by side with that.
Known that she needed medicine, and
and y'all remember when JP took her to the court or whatever, and they diagnosed her in a probate court, I think it was a probate court, yeah. In 3 minutes time, they diagnosed her and said that she needs to be on all this medication and she needs to be locked up, but we can't lock her up because her family's got to do it, but her family couldn't do it, or, you know, even though he's the next of kin, or y'all know the gibberish stuff that he makes.
I know that's true is because I took her a few weeks before she passed away. I took her to probate court, and in 3 minutes time, she went in, she walked back out. When I went in, they said, your wife is mentally ill and she needs medicine desperately. And I said, okay, let's do it. Let's get her the medicine. Let's get her help. And they said she's not a danger to anybody in society.
All right. Nope. Dang it. All right, now this is something that Ginger Dunn did post, and I have read it before, but it says, I need help. I have information and evidence related to Pastor J.P. Miller, Mica Miller, at Waccamaw Behavioral Health, attorney Regina Bechtler Ward, and many of the other players involved. Between September 1st and September 29th, 2022, I entered proof of corruption involving Mica's attorney, Regina Bechtler Ward, in the United States District Court case, Dunn versus Chbosky. Dunn, another fraudulent litigation. I entered evidence of Ward's participation in discrediting me, her own client, in the groundwork she laid for potential involuntary commitment through falsified medical records, false court documents, collusion with opposing parties, and direct collusion with McLeod Health and Waccamaw Behavioral Health. At 1:39 in the January 30, 2024 video attached, I testified before the South Carolina Ad HOC Committee Judicial Reform. I told the committee that one can buy a mental health narrative through South Carolina courts to harm another, and that anyone in their right, with the right connections, can have someone committed against their will without evidence or cause. I reported the committee that this has been happening all over South Carolina for decades. I didn't know Mica Miller, but I hope she gets justice. I hope what she endured may lead to accountability for those who do this kind of harm. There is also videos, and there is on MyrtleBeachSouthCarolina.com, and there's an interview that she did, and then we'll also get into some of the articles and things that I found, or we found. And if y'all are on TikTok, y'all go and show these people some love. Yes. Ginger Dunn alienated from business she owned for 25 years in a 15-minute family court hearing.
To take her to a professional, that professional would have known that she needed medicine.
And there's money involved. And the same patterns. I've not been taken against my will anywhere, but they've laid all the same groundwork. The first hearing they had without me, arranged by my own attorney, when I got the transcript back, I read a transcript that the judge asked if I had been committed. The things that have happened, and I agree 100% with the grievance comment, it's because It's like there's no accountability. They could not do these things if they thought they were going to get caught. I was still begging for a transcript 6 months later. The information I needed from the transcript, they filed 2 more contempt charges against me based on me not having a transcript to show what they were saying wasn't true. There are over 1,000 counts of perjury in my case, with evidence, with proof. No one will look at it. No one will look.
Yes, yes, ma'am. I was
I'm in a case right now, and there's money involved.
Today we're talking about South Carolina Family Court and the family court system, and we're talking to someone who is very familiar with the system, Ginger Dunn. Ginger, how are you doing today?
I'm great, thank you.
Tell us about your experiences. You're going through a divorce right now, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And that's been going on for?
We've been in family court since November 4th, 2021.
So what year did you meet your husband?
Oh gosh, 1992?
And you got married.
We did it in 94.
And y'all have how many children?
We have 4.
And the youngest is now?
Almost 17.
Wow. You guys own a business together, right?
We do several, yes.
You own several businesses, and those are?
The Melting Pot in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, the Melting Pot in Columbus, Ohio, and also Rodizio Grill in Columbus, Ohio.
Your husband and you decided to separate in what year?
We separated in 2008 and reconciled, and then he left for good in 2014.
And in 2014, did you file for divorce then?
No,
What year was your divorce filed?
2021.
And what caused that?
After COVID, we, when everything was back in the swing of things, Keith, that's his name, Keith had been talking about retiring for a long time, and after COVID, he said he was ready to go ahead and do that, and then he's had some issues with alcohol, and ended up going to rehab in 2021, and around that time definitively said he didn't want to be in the restaurant anymore.
And those were during the COVID years?
That was 2021 when everybody was getting the vaccine and we were all getting back in the swing.
Okay. So in 2021, you filed for divorce, or did he file for divorce?
I filed in November 2021, but by that time he said he was amicable to divorce, and it was more about this minority partner, George Chaposky in Ohio. They pretended to feud, and Keith was worried that George was trying to steal the businesses. He said flat out, George is trying to steal the businesses. And the business attorney, Craig Snook, here in Myrtle Beach, advised if we filed, it would protect our businesses.
So you actually filed for divorce to protect your assets, your business.
That was what I was led to believe.
How'd that work out?
I signed a retainer one day, and then within weeks, I found myself in a temporary hearing where my husband and George Chaposky submitted affidavits accusing me of trying to steal businesses.
So you were accused of basically trying to alienate your husband from his part of the business.
They accused me of everything he said George Chaposky had done. They just they slotted my name into it.
And how was that? Was that in family court? Were those records produced in family court?
That was in Horry County Family Court.
And who was the presiding judge?
Judge Jan Benacher Brommel Holmes.
So Judge Holmes. Now, what did Judge Holmes rule?
It was a 15-minute hearing, and she ruled that all business operations would go back to Keith as they had traditionally, but he had not been the traditional operator.
How long had you owned the business by then?
25 years.
So
In
for
Myrtle.
25 years, who ran the business day to day? Who was the business manager?
At first, it was Keith and I, but very early on, a young man, a local, Sean Fredericks is his name. Sean became the operating partner, and Sean did everything.
Would you say Sean primarily worked with Keith or with you?
Both at first, and then I would say after about 2006, Sean had complete autonomy as a partner.
So Sean really ran the business.
He left at the end of 2020. He's got two young boys, so
But he ran it for many years.
many years he did everything.
Yeah. And your husband and you both equally invested in the business going in?
We did.
Did the business do well or did it struggle?
It struggled. Back then, Myrtle Beach did not have the year-round population that it has now, and we were actually turned down for the franchise the first time we applied.
So to make the franchise work, what did you do?
Everything and anything that needed to be done. Keith tells the story that we couldn't get a dishwasher. We just couldn't find a dishwasher. So I would wash dishes at night, work the kitchen, do the books, any kind of marketing, grassroots marketing we could do, because we had no budget.
And did you have to open up another franchise or did you open up another franchise?
Once we made it through the scariest part, the first winter, we learned so much on the business end. The franchise in Columbus, Ohio was for sale, and I guess you would call it a distressed property. And I ended up moving to Columbus to take over that store, and Keith stayed here in South Carolina.
And how did the store in Columbus do?
We were very fortunate, did very well quickly.
Did it help salvage the Myrtle Beach location?
Our debt was unmanageable in Myrtle Beach, and the Columbus store helped us get on track here.
Who ran the Columbus location day to day?
That was me until we got systems in place, and then I moved back here and we started having kids.
Okay, and how many kids did you have again?
4.
4. Okay, so you moved back here in 2014. What caused the separation?
He actually got a DUI in 2014, and the drinking was an ongoing issue, but it was never the main issue. And he just simply never came back after that. He never came home.
And so did you continue to show up at the melting pot and work and...
By that time, again, the drinking was an issue, and he just didn't want me around to see what he wasn't doing, and Sean was there. So everything I did was marketing outside the business.
Okay. So in 2021, you were encouraged to file for divorce by your husband and his business partner, or his business attorney.
His business attorney, yeah.
And so you do, and then you find out in family court that you're being accused of alienating your husband from his own business. Okay. What did Judge Bromell rule? Did she rule you settlement for half the business or the assets, or how did she rule?
She ruled that Keith would have control, and they wrote an order with one line in it that said I was not to come about to interfere with his operations, except then he just didn't come to work. So he didn't operate.
Did she award you a settlement of any kind?
She ordered that I was supposed to take the salary out of just our local business as we head into the winter, and ignored my ownership in Ohio. She basically said treated me like an employee.
Okay. But she did award you payment.
that I had to take the salary and have no say in anything
Right.
else.
You basically you were alienated from the business.
And he was allowed to ban me from the businesses.
Are you banned from the business?
I have not been in my own businesses for over a year now.
And coming up this May 24th, you are being brought back into court, correct? Once again, for an alienation charge?
This is a contempt, several contempt charges. I've been under threat of incarceration without every single day, without bail, since February of 2022.
And what are you accused of doing exactly in this upcoming trial date?
They said I did not follow through on recommendations of someone who had been appointed by the court, but I did not receive the recommendations until after the contempt charge was filed.
So let's walk through that. The person that you're speaking about, appointed by the court, was?
It was a guardian ad litem
Okay.
who was appointed for our nearly 17-year-old daughter, though my husband is not contesting custody.
Okay. And you received a letter in the mail?
In regular U.S. mail, yes.
How were you notified? You were notified by regular U.S. mail? Exactly how did that come about? Explain that.
The first indication that I had there was a real problem was the guardian ad litem. Her name's Tanya Watkins, the Watkins Law Firm, Conway, South Carolina. She wrote a letter to my husband's attorney, Heather Moore, Axelrod and Associates, who is a co-worker of Craig Snook, the business attorney, saying that she had mailed a letter on December 12th with this information I was supposed to act on in the letter. But I didn't receive the letter until Christmas Eve. And
was the letter just held up in the mail? Did something happen?
I tried to confirm with her to make sure, because this letter was a big deal at my house. My 16-year-old daughter had written a letter letting everyone know how upsetting the constant stream of process servers and certified mail and letters, all these big fat law envelopes coming to our home were, while I'm being threatened with jail. So this letter that we received on Christmas Eve, my daughter wrote in her letter that she's the one who checks the mail. And so Ms. Watkins wrote in her letter that she had read my daughter's, she was aware of that. So she sent this law envelope to arrive at our home Christmas Eve. And it was very upsetting. My daughter cried Christmas Eve because it's just been a constant thing.
Was the letter date stamped?
It was date stamped the 22nd. December
But Ms.
22nd.
Watkins said she mailed it out on the
12th.
So how does a letter that is mailed on the 12th get date stamped at the post office the 22nd?
I emailed and asked her that question.
And what did she say?
She deflected the question, I think, twice, but I continued to ask. And then the last time, she said she confirmed that she mailed her letter on the 12th, but she also confirmed our conversation where I told her I received it on the 24th.
And when were you charged with this contempt charge? On what date?
Heather Moore signed this petition for contempt on December 23rd.
So one day before you received the letter notifying you to comply with a judge for a guardian ad litem, one day before, you're sued for contempt.
Because I didn't act on the information in the letter I didn't receive.
So you're going to court on May 24th about this.
And they say it could be a year in jail.
So your husband, is he accusing you of trying to alienate you from his daughter?
That's what his attorney said. Heather Moore said yes.
And the daughter's 17?
She'll be 17 in just over a month.
How big of a part of her life has he been? Birthdays, Christmases? I mean, is it 50-50 custody? What's the situation?
When he left in 2014, he just pretended like he hadn't left. We never had any agreement. He was just never involved with the kids.
Has he actively participated in any of your kids' lives? And you have 4, the oldest of which is,
22.
has he shown up for birthdays?
I mean, I invited him to everything. Holidays at my house, any major event, he was invited. And I mean, he might come on Christmas, he might come by.
Thanksgiving?
I mean, randomly over the years.
4th of July?
No, I mean, no,
And he's never shared 50-50 custody with you?
no, there's never been any kind of agreement or arrangement.
And because y'all were just living apart, there was also no child support agreement, correct?
We never, he never discussed it. We never,
So until, from 2014 when he left, till 2021 when you filed for divorce, there was never any child support payments coming in? No. Are there child support payments now?
I've been forced to take child support payments that my original attorney, Regina Ward, asked for without my knowledge. I've written letters. I've told everyone repeatedly, I do not want this support. And they refuse not to pay it because one of the issues there is it keeps it in Horry County.
So there's only one child that child support would apply to, correct now?
Right,
And that's your daughter.
correct.
And when does she become of what's called legal age?
I guess that would be 18, but
Which would be when? When does she become of legal age?
a year and a month, 13 months.
Okay. But at 17, she has the right by the courts to make her own decisions,
That's
correct?
what I'm told,
And that's when she turns 17 when?
in June, just over a month.
So you're being brought into contempt for a child that's turning 17 in June.
And she's a young woman, and I feel that she should have some, they agreed at the beginning that our children should have input on how much they wanted to see their dad. Because visitation, that wasn't something that had ever happened. So as an almost 17-year-old young woman, I feel like they're saying she has no voice in her own life.
Does she want to spend time with her dad?
In a perfect world, I think she would, but we've got a situation where false medical records were created for both my daughter and myself and submitted to the court by Heather Moore. And my daughter knows that. She's read the records, and it's a violation. I know how it feels for me, and I can't fix that for her. And now to be told you have to go create more medical records, trust another court-appointed official, medical personnel, whoever.
Are you being asked to take an evaluation by the state?
Or Judge Brommel Holmes brought this up when I told her in court that medical records had been created, fabricated, that they weren't real, and that I'd brought the evidence. She wouldn't take it. And then she ordered the reunification therapy for my daughter, and they would select the evaluator, they would select the counselor, and an evaluation for me regarding mental health.
Okay.
And they would select the evaluator.
Yeah. Have you been evaluated?
No, part of that was the recommendations for evaluators were in the letter we received the 24th. By that time, they had already signed a contempt order, so.
Correct. You were basically found in contempt because you didn't receive a letter that asked you to get a court-appointed evaluation until after the time had expired.
And they're talking about legal fees, but they said we had 60 days to pay, but then something else was written for 30 days. There was no clarity on it. So they didn't send an email to me. I never got an invoice. I never got any information. The first thing I got was a contempt charge.
What date, when do you expect a final divorce from Mr. Dunn?
They've set dates for a final trial in June of this year, and those dates were set. They applied for those the same day I told them I gave a letter of intent to change venue because I couldn't get transcripts. I can't get a hearing scheduled because of the false things that have been written in my case and on the record. Any potential new attorney, it looks like, they've created a history of a litigant who doesn't show up. Well, my attorney, they held a hearing I didn't know occurred. So I've got all this baggage.
So you're expecting to have a final divorce decree in June, maybe, perhaps?
Those are the dates they have set.
And the businesses are now worth how much money? The combined businesses are worth, on paper, what are they worth?
We were ordered at the beginning of litigation to select a forensic accountant together. That was to be a joint decision. For how many months I tried to get that facilitated, they would not communicate. Judge Brommel Holmes, after so many months, I was brought back with Judge Brommel Holmes. She awarded Keith, the party that would not communicate about a forensic accountant, she gave him complete control to select the forensic accountant. She said if I didn't like his numbers, I could select my own. I've not received any financial information. It's all been withheld from me. And so now we're 1-2 weeks away from a trial. I still don't have whatever numbers they put together. So the business evaluations, if they've been done, those numbers have not been shared with me.
So you feel like you're a 50-50 partner in this business, do you not?
That's what all our documentation says.
So on paper, you're a 50% owner of this, legally, you're a 50% owner of this properties, or these properties, these businesses.
I always have been, but they've also altered the tax returns, and I have no remedy for that.
So if you were to settle, right now you don't know what the business is worth. Has there been a request for mediation on this divorce settlement?
The mediation was scheduled. I was given no information on it whatsoever. I didn't know the mediator's name until I read it in my spouse's affidavit at one of the hearings. Apparently he was given some kind of packet to fill out 3-4 months before. I received 2 business days before an email that said this is when it will be, and I was never asked what I wanted about anything.
You were never given a packet to fill out yourself?
No one ever asked me one question about what I wanted.
Do you expect to have a courtroom trial in family court on this matter, or do you expect mediation?
We had the mediation. The mediation took place June 7th, 2022.
Were you there?
I was there.
And what did the mediation resolve or decide?
Nothing. There was a proposed agreement. Lisa Kennan, she's a former family court judge, and she's the chair of the ADR commission. I didn't know all of that at the time. It was a Zoom experience, and I think it was almost a 3-hour experience. At one point, I was reduced to tears, and I'm not a crier, generally speaking. They said that they would issue a bench warrant for my arrest if I did not sign the agreement by 4 p.m. the next day.
Did you sign the agreement?
No.
And have you yet signed the agreement?
No, it was completely one-sided.
Right. And did you end up in jail?
No. Not that day, no.
Okay. Are you concerned about going to jail on the 24th of May?
I believe that that's a possibility.
Okay. What are they saying the jail sentence would be?
It could be up to a year.
Okay.
I was sentenced to 6 months in jail last year.
Have you been arrested?
This was the hearing they held April 21st that my attorney, Regina Ward, facilitated to be held in my absence. My first indication there'd been a hearing was when I received an order attached to an email the following Monday. So in one business day, they produced an order that said I had been sentenced to 6 months in jail. If I did not, they said I could purge the sentence if I returned the same computer, broken computer that had been sitting in a closet for 4 or 5 months that my husband said he didn't want, take it away. It was about this computer and passwords I didn't have.
Did you return the computer?
I did what I was instructed to do. I took it to Axelrod and Associates. I got there and said, is there a list of these passwords that I'm supposed to provide? Because I've been given nothing. They told me Heather Moore, the opposing counsel attorney, she was in an all-day mediation. No one had a list. And they told me a bench warrant would be activated by 3 p.m. that day if I didn't provide them what they were asking for, but they did not have a list of what I was asking for.
So you were never arrested?
Not that day, because I wrote down everything I had. They would not give me a receipt, so I took pictures of it. By the time I got to the parking lot, my own attorney sent me an email saying I had dropped off the computer, but no passwords. My own attorney worked against me harder than the opposing attorney.
But what I want to know is this. Have you ever been arrested or sent to jail in any regard regarding your ex-husband or future ex-husband?
No,
So no one's ever arrested you?
just threats.
Correct. Okay. So this is another threat on May 24th. But it's a threat that you're very concerned about.
Well, if they sentence me to 6 months in jail based on things that I didn't have last time, I don't know what they'll do this time.
Okay.
Now they can say I have a record.
Do you believe the South Carolina family court system is broken?
Broken is one word for it, yes.
Okay, what's the word you'd use?
I would call what's going on, what I've witnessed, a crime against children, a crime against citizens of Horry County.
And if you could say something to Senator Luke Rankin right now, who heads the judiciary, what would you say about the system?
I would say to Senator Luke Rankin, I've actually met you once many years ago. We ate dinner together at a Japanese steakhouse at the same table. I'm sure he wouldn't remember me, but I would say the systems that have been in place for whatever reason, in my situation right now, a man from another state will attempt to take our family-owned businesses as South Carolina citizens using the South Carolina Family Court. And I don't feel like I'm an American citizen anymore. Everything you're taught growing up about the American dream, we have a system that someone can take it away in 15 minutes, an entire lifetime. And in the hearing that I was not present, I read the transcript much later. I'm 51 years old, and I've lived my life with integrity. And I read a transcript where 4 people chatted about their weekend plans while they put things on the record to destroy my life. and I have a real hard time understanding how that's okay.
Is there anything else you'd like to add?
I would like to say I know Regina Ward's not the only one who's done the things I've experienced. For any of those people who've been harmed that way and no one believed what happened to them, I would like those people to understand that what happened to them was because they were good people who couldn't be bought, so they had to go to these measures to take from them.